Have you ever wondered why, in a single instant, everything you thought you were can simply vanish? One moment you cling to familiar habits, fears, and patterns, and the next, it feels as though an invisible hand has stripped away the layers of an old identity. This isn't imagination, it's the physics of transformation, where energy reorganizes the field of who you are. And in that moment of alignment, the old self doesn't just fade, it dies. This video has found you now for a reason. Deep down, you already sense that your life is poised on the edge of something immense, something that cannot be explained by logic alone. Quantum physics reveals it as the observer effect, where attention sculpts reality itself. Spiritually, it is the sacred death of the outdated self, a rebirth that requires no ritual other than awareness. You didn't stumble here, you were guided, because your field is ready to shift. But here's the paradox. The very self that has kept you safe until now is also the one dissolving. What happens when the structures you thought were permanent suddenly vanish? What lies beyond the death of the familiar self? Stay with me, because what you're about to discover is not just theory. It's the quantum blueprint of your evolution, and it will change the way you see your own existence forever. There comes a moment when the air around you seems to hum differently, as if reality itself is pausing to listen. This is not imagination, but physics at play, the observer effect beginning to stir. When you bring conscious attention to your inner state, the field starts to reconfigure. The molecules of your identity, once static, begin vibrating toward a new rhythm. You are stepping into a doorway where the old cannot follow. Think of this threshold like the instant water turns to vapor. It looks sudden, but the heat was building all along. The same happens when your energy accumulates coherence. One breath of awareness tips the scale, and your entire reality begins to vaporize the old self. Alignment is not gradual. It is a tipping point, and once you cross it, the return path collapses. Science affirms that particles remain in probability until observed, and your life mirrors that principle. Every thought you direct becomes a measurement upon reality, collapsing the infinite into the tangible. When you choose alignment, your field no longer tolerates discord. The old self dies quietly, unable to hold its form under the light of conscious observation. Spiritually, this is not destruction, but initiation. It is the sacred invitation to birth a self that breathes with universal intelligence. The threshold is alive, pulsing with infinite potential. Step into it, and the noise of doubt begins to lose its grip. Step into it, and you start to feel reality rearranging in your favor. Notice how your breath feels different when you focus on possibility instead of fear. Even a single inhale taken with awareness signals to your nervous system that change is here. This is the simplest ritual of alignment. Breathing into your becoming. Every exhale releases the fragments of a self no longer needed, and each inhale welcomes the new design of your field. Imagine standing before a mirror that doesn't reflect who you were, but who you are capable of becoming. The mirror doesn't lie, it reflects the resonance of your chosen frequency. Your body, mind, and heart synchronize into that reflection, and the doorway swings open. This is why the old self feels like it is dissolving. It no longer finds validation in the mirror of reality. It is crucial to understand that thresholds are not crossed with force, but with surrender. Trying to drag the old self into the new frequency only multiplies resistance. Alignment occurs when you let go of what you were clinging to. The death of the old self is not a tragedy, but a necessary shedding. And in that release, you feel the first glimpse of liberation. The field you step into is subtle, yet undeniable. Conversations shift, Coincidences multiply, and synchronicities appear like signposts of confirmation. Physics calls it coherence. Mystics call it alignment. You recognize it by the ease that begins to flow. And while your mind still questions, your body already knows the transformation is underway. At this threshold, there is no need to prove, only to allow. Energy naturally follows intention, and intention directs the quantum field. The old self cannot survive in this higher resonance, just as shadows cannot linger when the sun rises. The threshold is crossed the instant you accept your role as observer and creator. And beyond it, the next revelation is already waiting. Reality does not wait for hesitation. It bends the moment you decide. Quantum physics reveals that waves of possibility collapse into particles when observed. In that instant, infinite options fall away, and only the chosen path remains alive. Spiritually, this is the sacred act of alignment. Your decision rewrites the script of existence. The old self dissolves because it is no longer summoned into being. Imagine holding a prism in sunlight. Beams scatter into countless colors until you choose one to focus on. Your mind works the same way. Scattered thoughts produce scattered lives. But when you align attention, the spectrum narrows into one brilliant ray. That ray becomes your lived reality. The rest vanishes into silence. The collapse isn't violent. It is a gentle erasure. When you stop feeding energy into outdated identities, they no longer hold form. Quantum fields respond instantly to what you withdraw observation from. The forgotten self fades, not because it was weak, but because it was never real. It existed only in your focus. This is why hesitation can feel so heavy. It leaves the wave uncollapsed, reality suspended. The old self survives in that hesitation, clinging to your indecision. But one bold choice dissolves its hold, like sunlight scattering fog. Each act of alignment is a funeral for what no longer serves. Yet simultaneously, it is a birth. Practical rituals help signal the field that collapse is intentional. Writing down one old belief and burning the page communicates surrender to the subconscious. Breathing deeply while affirming, "I choose alignment now," programs coherence into your body. Small actions ripple through the field. The quantum responds to every cue of choice. Think of it this way. The universe is a vast menu of probabilities. Every second you linger on a dish, the kitchen begins cooking. When you change your order, the old plate never arrives. It collapses back into nothingness. The meal you receive is the one you give your undivided attention to. Energy never misinterprets clarity. The collapse of possibilities also explains why new doors open suddenly. You weren't ready before because your old self was still alive in the field. Once it died through lack of observation, alignment allowed the path forward. Physics calls this measurement. Mystics call it surrender. Either way, the signal is the same. Notice how reality quickens after such decisions. Encounters, resources, and synchronicities align as if summoned. It is not coincidence. It is the collapse crystallizing. Every choice writes a new equation in the field, and each aligned equation eliminates the need for the old self to linger. The universe listens to decisive frequency. So, when you feel the weight of indecision, remember, your focus is collapsing something even in silence. If you observe fear, fear crystallizes. If you observe truth, truth becomes matter. The old self dies the moment you stop watching it into existence. And beyond that death, another principle rises to be seen. Every thought hums with a signature frequency, radiating into the field like ripples across water. When those ripples are chaotic, life mirrors back confusion. But when the frequency is coherent, reality organizes around it with mathematical precision. Quantum physics calls this coherence, particles locking into synchrony. Spiritually, it is the vibration of truth dismantling false identities. Think of tuning a radio. Static dominates until you align the dial with the station. Your mind works in the same way, endlessly shifting until it lands on coherence. When the dial of thought meets the frequency of truth, clarity emerges. Everything not resonant falls silent. The old self dies in that silence. Truth vibrates differently. It carries weight and lightness at once. When spoken or even silently acknowledged, it rearranges the nervous system. Cells attune themselves to this higher signal, much like instruments following a conductor. Physics affirms it. Biology confirms it. Alignment with truth is resonance across body and field. Consider how lies feel in your body. Shallow breath, tension, dissonance. Now recall how truth feels. Expanded lungs, steadier rhythm, ease. These physiological responses are the body reading frequency. The old self, built on false patterns, cannot survive within this alignment. It collapses as truth floods the system. A simple practice is to pause and breathe deeply whenever you sense confusion. With eyes closed, whisper inwardly, "Show me the frequency of truth." Notice the subtle shift in your body's signal. This is your inner receiver, attuning to coherence. Each repetition weakens the subconscious programs of the old self. Science reveals that coherent systems amplify power exponentially. A single photon in coherence can synchronize millions. Likewise, one clear truth inside you can reorganize the entire landscape of your life. The scattered fragments of the old identity lose their pull. They simply cannot compete with resonance this strong. Truth doesn't argue. It radiates. It doesn't demand proof. It organizes reality around itself. When you hold that inner frequency steadily, external circumstances recalibrate. Friends, opportunities, and synchronicities emerge as reflections of coherence. The old self, sustained by lies and distortions, dissolves like shadow under the midday sun. It's not about forcing yourself into truth, but allowing truth to reveal itself. The quantum field responds instantly to alignment, but your role is to sustain it. Each time you slip back into incoherence, reality scatters again. Yet each return to truth sharpens the signal, training your field to hold it longer. What happens when you live entirely in coherence? The frequency of truth becomes unshakable, and the universe bends to it. Physics calls it resonance. Mystics call it alignment. The old self is gone, because its vibration no longer exists in your spectrum. And from here, another mystery awaits to be unveiled. Across the quantum field, particles communicate instantly, no matter the distance. This strange phenomenon, called entanglement, mirrors your connection with destiny itself. The moment you align, you become inseparably linked with a future already vibrating in coherence. Every step you take is pulled by that unseen thread. The old self loses relevance because it cannot follow. Think of two tuning forks. Strike one, and the other hums in resonance without being touched. When you align with your highest path, life begins to vibrate back to you in the same way. Circumstances echo your frequency, pulling you forward with uncanny precision. The resonance of destiny is unavoidable once the bond is formed. The outdated identity has no tether in this new field. Alignment is not about chasing, it's about becoming magnetic. Entanglement ensures that what belongs to you cannot miss you. Choices, opportunities, and people weave themselves into your orbit with astonishing timing. Your role is to hold the vibration of coherence. The rest is drawn by the invisible laws of connection. Notice how coincidences intensify once you commit to alignment. They are not random, but signals of entanglement in motion. A book falls into your hands. A message arrives. A stranger speaks a sentence you needed to hear. These events are threads of the same fabric, guiding you deeper into your destined reality. The old self cannot decode them, but the aligned self does. A practical ritual is to whisper into the silence before sleep. I am already entangled with my destiny. Let the subconscious marinate in this truth, reprogramming patterns overnight. Upon waking, watch how the world subtly adjusts. The unseen thread pulls stronger each day you affirm it. The subconscious old self loses its claim on you. Science reminds us that entangled particles remain connected beyond time and space. Spiritually, this means your aligned future is already real, pulling you toward it now. The separation you feel is only perception. The moment you observe your destiny with certainty, you collapse its probability into reality. The old self fractures under that certainty. Imagine destiny as a star, and alignment as the gravitational pull toward it. No matter how far away, once in its orbit, your path curves inevitably toward the light. The energy of resistance belongs only to the old identity, trying to escape gravity. But surrender to the pull, and every step aligns naturally. Entanglement also explains why certain paths suddenly lose power. The old self was entangled with limitation, but those cords are severed once coherence enters. What felt once magnetic now falls flat, as though unplugged. This is not loss, but liberation. Your energy rerouted into a higher thread. The universe does not misplace connections. So when you feel pulled by forces you can't explain, don't dismiss them. They are the quantum proof that your alignment has activated. The entanglement is real, unavoidable, alive. The old self dies because its threads no longer exist in the weave. And just beyond this mystery, another truth rises to the surface. Behind your thoughts, behind even your emotions, there is something watching. That silent awareness is the ultimate observer, the force that bends reality without effort. Quantum physics insists observation itself is what crystallizes particles into form. When you meet this inner witness, you discover the power to collapse illusion, and the old self dissolves under its gaze. Imagine sitting in a theater, watching a play you once thought was your life. Suddenly you realize you are not the actor, not the stage, not even the script. You are the audience, the consciousness watching it all unfold. From that vantage point, false roles lose credibility. The mask of the old self slips away. Science confirms that observation doesn't just record reality, it reshapes it. When your inner witness awakens, it stops feeding energy into outdated patterns. The subconscious programs that kept you repeating the same cycles fade into nothing. Without attention, they cannot hold coherence. And without coherence, the old identity cannot survive. Try this. The next time fear rises, don't fight it. Observe it. Place your awareness gently upon the sensation without judgment. Notice how the intensity softens under observation, like ice melting under the sun. Awareness collapses the wave of fear into stillness. In that moment, you reclaim authorship of your reality. The observer within has no past, no future. It exists only now. That timeless quality is why it holds such power. It doesn't argue with stories, it sees through them. When you identify with this awareness, the storyline of the old self feels hollow. You stop being trapped in its narrative. Think of awareness as light entering a dark room. The darkness doesn't fight back. It simply vanishes. In the same way, illusions of limitation dissolve when illuminated by observation. No resistance is required, only presence. This is why the witness self is the death knell of false identity. The old self cannot endure the light. As you practice inhabiting this witness, coherence spreads naturally. Thoughts calm, emotions harmonize, and the body aligns with ease. Science calls this order emerging from chaos. Mystics call it awakening. Both point to the same truth. Awareness is the architect of reality. The aligned self thrives where the witness is active. Have you noticed how silence carries answers words cannot give? That silence is the voice of the observer. Within it lies the clarity that no logic can manufacture. Each time you return to this still point, the field responds with greater coherence. And the identity of the old self fades like an echo. To live as the observer is to live as creator. No longer chained to reactive patterns, you choose what reality reflects. Your gaze projects alignment into the field, collapsing probabilities into truth. The old self dies because it has no audience left. And from that silence, the next revelation begins to stir. Every false identity you've ever worn is nothing more than an energetic mask. These masks are built from subconscious programs, survival mechanisms, and borrowed beliefs. Yet physics reminds us, what is observed without reinforcement cannot maintain form. When you shine awareness on the mask, its coherence unravels, and suddenly, the illusion of the old self crumbles. Picture a masquerade ball where everyone hides behind ornate disguises. For years, you might dance, believing the mask is your face. But when the lights brighten and the music shifts, masks lose their magic. You catch your own reflection and realize it was never you at all. The costume falls away with a single glance of awareness. The observer effect explains why masks disintegrate under focus. As long as subconscious patterns remain unexamined, they survive as probabilities. But once you see them clearly, their wave collapses. The false self evaporates because it no longer resonates with your chosen alignment. Truth always strips illusion of its coherence. Feel into the body when the mask is active. It tightens, restricts, forces performance. Contrast that with moments of authenticity, where breath flows and energy expands. The nervous system knows the difference, broadcasting signals of coherence or incoherence. Each time you choose truth, the body celebrates with release, and the mask loses ground. Try a simple practice. Pause and ask, whose voice is this? When a limiting thought arises. Often you'll notice it doesn't belong to you, but to an inherited mask. The subconscious programmed it long ago, yet awareness rewrites the script. By refusing to observe the false voice, you end its influence. The mask collapses instantly. Science shows incoherent systems eventually scatter and decay. Spiritually, this is why false identities cannot endure once you align. They lack resonance with the field of truth. The more consistently you inhabit coherence, the faster masks dissolve. The old self, composed of countless disguises, has no foothold in the higher frequency. Notice how life responds differently when the mask falls away. Conversations deepen, synchronicities multiply, and your presence feels magnetic. Others sense the clarity of your field, even without words. Masks repel truth, but authenticity attracts coherence effortlessly. This shift is proof that the collapse has already begun. The beauty of this process is that nothing real is lost. Masks vanish, but essence remains, shining brighter than before. Alignment strips away only what never belonged to you. Each mask that falls is space reclaimed for truth to radiate. The old self dies, but the luminous core comes alive. So when the mask feels heavy, don't fight it. Simply see it. Observation alone begins its collapse. The quantum field responds by reorganizing you into authenticity. The masquerade of limitation fades, leaving only essence. And just as the mask disintegrates, another layer of awakening begins to call. Beneath the surface of conscious thought lives a vast program, the subconscious mind. It runs your patterns, habits, and beliefs with mechanical precision. Neuroscience shows it governs over 90% of behavior, yet it often operates in shadow. Quantum principles remind us that energy patterns collapse when no longer observed. When you choose alignment, the old subconscious scripts lose their fuel. Think of the subconscious like software coded long ago. If the code remains unexamined, it loops endlessly, projecting the same reality. But the moment you rewrite even a single line, the system changes. Alignment is this act of recoding, installing a higher frequency into your inner operating system. The old self is simply outdated software. The observer effect is the key here. When you bring awareness to an unconscious belief, you collapse its hold. What was once hidden becomes visible, and visibility dissolves power. Awareness is the scalpel that cuts old scripts from your field. Once exposed, they cannot sustain coherence. The subconscious rewiring begins in silence and attention. Consider how repeating affirmations without emotion often fails. That's because the subconscious doesn't understand words, it understands frequency. By embodying the feeling of alignment, you bypass resistance and implant new programs. Breathwork, visualization, and heart coherence practices amplify this effect. The old subconscious self starves when you stop energizing its vibration. Try this exercise. Write down one limiting belief, then replace it with a coherent statement. As you breathe deeply, imagine the old phrase collapsing into dust, while the new one radiates like light. Repeat with feeling until your body believes it. This ritual reprograms the subconscious through frequency, not force. Quantum physics shows that systems naturally shift into higher coherence when disorder is released. Your subconscious works the same way. It longs to organize around truth. The more you align, the more effortlessly it rewires itself. Old stories dissolve because they cannot sustain resonance in the higher field. Alignment programs itself. Notice how reality changes once new subconscious coding takes root. Opportunities appear where there was stagnation, and synchronicities multiply. People respond differently because they are now entangled with your upgraded frequency. The subconscious old self can no longer pull the strings. It is left behind. The rewiring manifests visibly in daily life. The fascinating part is that the subconscious resists at first, clinging to familiarity. But resistance is only proof that transformation is underway. Each time you observe the resistance without feeding it, the code weakens. This is why patience is power during rewiring. The old self collapses, not all at once, but steadily. So understand this. Subconscious rewiring is not about battling the mind, but reprogramming the field. When you embody coherence, the subconscious has no choice but to adapt. Every aligned thought becomes a new script, every feeling a command line. The outdated programs crash, and from their silence, something greater is emerging. When thought, emotion, and energy fall out of sync, the field scatters into noise. Physics calls this incoherence, waves colliding chaotically, canceling each other's power. In your life, incoherence feels like confusion, fatigue, or endless struggle. It is the static between who you are and who you're becoming. Alignment silences that static without effort. Imagine a radio caught between stations, producing nothing but hiss. That's the sound of incoherence in the body. But the moment the dial clicks into place, clarity floods in. Alignment works the same way. Once you tune, silence emerges naturally. And in that silence, the old self begins to fade. The body is the first to sense incoherence. Shallow breath, tight muscles, racing thoughts. These signals are not punishment. They are invitations to notice. By observing incoherence, you begin collapsing its influence. What was scattered energy reorganizes around awareness. The observer effect transforms noise into possibility. Try this. Pause in the middle of a stressful moment and take 3 slow breaths. Imagine exhaling static and inhaling clarity. This simple ritual restores coherence in the nervous system. The silence that follows isn't emptiness. It is power gathering itself. The old self cannot survive in that calm frequency. Science shows that incoherent energy disperses until it disappears. Spiritually, this means the fragmented self is destined to collapse. You don't need to fight it. You need only stop feeding it. When you embody coherence, the scattered identity loses its ability to hold form. Silence becomes its undoing. Notice how alignment feels like ease, as though reality itself has exhaled. This is coherence humming through your field. In this state, intention magnifies effortlessly. Opportunities align, conversations flow, and synchronicities multiply. The old self, bound by resistance and noise, has no access here. It dissolves quietly in the background. Think of a symphony orchestra. When each instrument plays separately, it is chaos, but when tuned together, harmony arises that moves hearts. Your thoughts and emotions are instruments too. Coherence tunes them into unity, and the music of alignment begins. The discordant old self falls silent in that harmony. Incoherence may still attempt to resurface, whispering through old patterns. But its voice grows weaker the more you return to silence. Awareness, breath, and focus collapse its grasp. Each return to coherence strengthens your field, until noise becomes a faint echo. And in that echo, transformation deepens. The silence of incoherence is not absence, but preparation. It clears the clutter, making space for alignment to dominate. What was once scattered energy now becomes fuel for creation. The old self cannot compete with this clarity. And from within that silence, another fractal of awakening begins to reveal itself. The universe is built on fractals, patterns repeating infinitely at every scale. Galaxies spiral like seashells, rivers branch like veins, and thoughts ripple like cosmic waves. Awakening follows the same law. Your alignment repeats the signature of your higher self in human form. The old self collapses because it was only a fragment. The whole pattern emerges when coherence takes over. Think of a hologram. Every piece contains the image of the whole. You are that hologram, carrying the blueprint of your infinite potential. When you align, the light refracts through you, revealing the complete picture. What once appeared broken was only partial perception. Alignment activates the entire design waiting within. Physics shows that fractals embody efficiency, harmony, and endless repetition. Spiritually, they represent awakening in motion, each insight birthing another. Your alignment ripples into layers of thought, emotion, and energy simultaneously. The old self disintegrates because it cannot sustain fractal growth. It belonged to limitation, not expansion. A simple way to feel this is to place your hand over your heart and breathe. As you inhale, imagine a spiral expanding outward. As you exhale, Imagine it folding back in. This spiral is your fractal nature, expanding and returning, again and again. With each cycle, alignment deepens. The fragmented identity loses its foothold. Notice how life mirrors fractals. Lessons repeat until awareness shifts. Every argument, delay, or breakthrough is a pattern calling for recognition. When you align, the repeating loop transforms into a spiral upward. The old self was trapped in circles. The new self ascends. Each repetition now becomes fuel for awakening. The beauty of fractals is that they are infinite yet precise. No matter how deeply you zoom in, the pattern remains consistent. This reflects your awakening. The closer you look, the more truth appears. Alignment magnifies coherence at every level. The false identity, lacking pattern, dissolves under such precision. Even your thoughts show fractal behavior. One aligned thought births another, multiplying coherence like branches of a tree. Soon your entire field reflects that harmony. The old self, built from random static, has no place in this geometry. Order replaces chaos through the fractal unfolding of truth. Consider this: every breath, every choice, every heartbeat is a smaller pattern echoing the larger field. By aligning these micro-patterns, you influence the macro pattern of your destiny. The quantum field responds by amplifying the design. The old self cannot exist in such scaling harmony. It fades as the fractal sharpens. The fractal of awakening reminds you that expansion never ends. Each breakthrough reveals another layer, each layer another revelation. Alignment doesn't arrive once, it multiplies infinitely. The fragmented self collapses under this endless emergence. And from the fractal's spiral, the next secret of quantum time begins to shimmer. Time, as most people perceive it, is a straight line, past behind, future ahead. Yet quantum physics dismantles this illusion, showing past, present, and future coexisting in a single field. When alignment activates, the grip of linearity collapses. The old self, tied to its story of before and after, cannot survive this revelation. You awaken into the eternal now. Imagine a film reel stretched across a table, every frame visible at once. That is closer to how reality exists, timeless and complete. Your awareness moves like the light in the projector, choosing which frame to illuminate. The old self lived trapped in one reel of limitation. Alignment lets you step into any frame you choose. Science confirms that quantum events defy chronology. Effects can influence causes across time. Spiritually, this means your future self is already pulling you forward. When you align, that future collapses into the present, rewriting your story in real time. The timeline of the old self dissolves, leaving no trace but memory. Consider how memories replay in the mind as though they are still alive. But those memories hold power only while you observe them. Withdraw your focus, and their vibration collapses like unmeasured particles. This is how you sever ties to the old identity, by refusing to keep collapsing its past into your now. Try a practice. When an old limitation resurfaces, whisper inwardly, "That was one frame, but I no longer project it." Then breathe into the present moment until your body feels anchored here. This ritual pulls you back into coherence with the infinite now. The linear self cannot survive such anchoring. Alignment with timelessness feels like relief, a dissolving of deadlines and pressure. You recognize that everything is already unfolding in perfect rhythm. No need to chase, only to choose. The old self, bound by hurry and regret, cannot breathe in this rhythm. It fades as eternal presence takes hold. Think of your aligned self as existing across multiple lifetimes simultaneously. Each coherent choice you make echoes in every version of you, past and future. The field recalibrates instantly, rewriting the script across timelines. The fragmented linear identity, stuck in yesterday, evaporates under this expansive coherence. This is why breakthroughs can feel sudden, as though years of struggle vanish in an instant. In truth, the shift was never about time, but alignment. Once you tuned to the higher field, the timeline collapsed. What once seemed impossible now feels inevitable. The old self has no reference point here. To die to the linear self is to awaken to freedom. In the quantum field, every possibility is already alive, awaiting your observation. Time bends, dissolves, reshapes itself under your coherence. The story of the old identity cannot follow into this dimension. And as linearity collapses, the heart's resonance prepares to take the lead. Deep within the body lies the most powerful transmitter of frequency, the human heart. Science confirms its electromagnetic field is stronger than the brain's by magnitudes. When coherent, it organizes thought, emotion, and energy into harmony. Alignment here is not intellectual, it is vibrational. The old self cannot withstand the rhythm of truth beating in the chest. Imagine a drum syncing with an entire orchestra, the steady beat bringing order to chaos. Your heart performs this task every moment, quietly entraining the body into coherence. When you align with love, gratitude, or truth, the field magnifies. The brain follows the heart's signal, reorganizing itself accordingly. The fragmented self has no role in this harmony. Research in neurocardiology reveals that heart coherence boosts intuition and clarity. Spiritually, it unlocks your ability to perceive beyond logic. When the heart resonates with truth, reality bends toward alignment. Fear, doubt, and survival patterns lose their grip. They simply cannot vibrate at the same frequency as coherence. Feel the difference. When you dwell in fear, the heart's rhythm becomes erratic. When you breathe with gratitude, it smooths into coherence. This rhythm communicates with every cell, instructing the body to thrive. The old self, sustained by stress signals, begins to collapse. The new self radiates a calm, magnetic presence. Try this practice. Place your hand on your chest, breathe slowly, and recall one moment of deep appreciation. Allow the feeling to expand beyond the body into the space around you. That field of resonance influences not only you, but the reality you interact with. Each repetition weakens the identity of survival. Think of the heart as both a receiver and a broadcaster. It tunes into the universal field while simultaneously transmitting your alignment. When the two resonate, coherence becomes inevitable. This state draws in synchronicities and people who match the frequency. The old self, vibrating in dissonance, fades into silence. Alignment through the heart also heals the subconscious. Emotional wounds stored for years dissolve under consistent resonance. You cannot think away trauma, but you can entrain it into coherence. Breath and presence are the tools. Truth is the frequency. The mask of the old identity unravels under this soft power. The more consistently you live from heart resonance, the more reality reflects it. Struggle turns into flow, separation into unity, chaos into order. This is not imagination. It is measurable energy interacting with the field. Your very presence becomes an instrument of alignment. And the old self cannot exist in this song. To live through the resonance of the heart is to embody your truest frequency. It is where science and spirit shake hands, proving love is not just emotion, but physics. The aligned self breathes in coherence, radiating truth with each beat. And as the heart awakens, entropy itself prepares to yield. In physics, entropy is the natural drift of systems into disorder. Left unattended, structures weaken, scatter, and dissolve. Your old self is precisely such a structure, built on incoherence and survival coding. Once alignment enters, entropy accelerates its collapse. What felt like loss is actually the liberation of energy. Imagine a sandcastle at the edge of the tide. The waves don't destroy it. They simply return its grains to the sea. The same happens with the false self. Its fragments scatter back into the quantum field, recycled into potential. What looked like ruin is actually renewal. The ocean of being expands as the castle falls. Science confirms that entropy is unavoidable, yet consciousness offers a loophole. By aligning, you release the old self before collapse becomes chaos. This conscious release transforms decay into rebirth. The disorder of yesterday becomes the raw material of creation. The field reuses every fragment, but only in coherence. The subconscious clings to order, even when that order is painful. That is why the old identity feels so heavy. It resists its natural entropy. Awareness breaks this cycle by refusing to sustain outdated programs. The moment you stop observing them, they unravel. The energy returns to you as fuel for alignment. Try this practice. Visualize your old identity as an object crumbling into dust. With each exhale, imagine its fragments dissolving into light. With each inhale, see that light reassembling into your aligned form. This breath ritual transforms entropy into coherence. The collapse becomes an offering to your higher field. Entropy also explains why transformation feels like chaos at first. The old self destabilizes, systems shake, patterns unravel. Yet beneath the mess, order is being born. Coherence doesn't emerge from comfort, but from release. The scattered identity dies so the aligned self can rise. Energy never disappears, it reorganizes. Notice how your life clears itself when you step into alignment. Relationships, habits, and beliefs that no longer resonate fall away. This is entropy serving your evolution. The old self cannot hold shape in a higher vibration, so it crumbles. Every ending is a doorway disguised as dissolution. Think of stars. They collapse in entropy, only to birth new galaxies. Your old self follows the same law, collapsing to make room for vastness. What seems like breaking is in truth expansion. The fragments of who you were become the building blocks of who you are. Entropy is the womb of creation. To embrace entropic release is to trust the rhythm of renewal. You stop fearing collapse and begin seeing it as evolution's design. The old self disintegrates, not as punishment, but as physics. And in the wake of its release, a mirror emerges, waiting to show you what remains. Reality is not passive, it is reflective. Just as a mirror gives back the image you present, the quantum field reflects the frequency you emit. Physics demonstrates this through the observer effect. Particles behave differently under observation. Spiritually, it means your inner state is broadcast and echoed. The old self dies because its reflection no longer returns. Think of standing before a lake at dawn. When the water is still, it mirrors you perfectly. But when disturbed, the reflection fractures. Your life follows the same principle. Coherence brings clarity. Incoherence scatters the image. Alignment calms the waters of reality. What no longer vibrates with you disappears from the mirror. Every emotion you carry transmits a signal into the field. Joy radiates as coherence. Fear radiates as distortion. The mirror never lies. It reflects the exact frequency received. The more aligned your vibration, the clearer the reflection of truth. The fragmented self vanishes because the field will no longer echo it. A powerful practice is to ask daily, "What reflection is my reality showing me?" Instead of resisting, observe the mirror. Notice the repeating situations, the recurring emotions, the patterns that speak. These are quantum signals, feedback loops from your frequency. By shifting vibration, you shift the reflection instantly. Science confirms that electrons change trajectory depending on how they are measured. Your life operates under the same law. The observer within collapses outcomes into the mirror of your choice. When you choose alignment, you collapse coherence into matter. The old self stops appearing because you no longer observe it alive. Imagine looking into a mirror that no longer shows your past image. Instead, it reveals the self you are becoming. Radiant, coherent, aligned. At first it feels unfamiliar, even surreal. But the more you accept it, the more real it becomes. The old reflection fades until only the new remains. The mirror quantum also explains why denial never works. You can't fake frequency. The field responds to what you are, not what you say. Masks may fool people, but they cannot fool resonance. Only authenticity survives in reflection. The false self, built on distortion, has no mirror in truth. When you live in alignment, even challenges arrive as reflections of growth. Obstacles no longer signal failure, but feedback. Each mirror shows you where frequency needs refinement. The old self viewed challenges as punishment. The aligned self sees them as calibration. Reflection becomes guidance instead of resistance. Every glance into the quantum mirror reminds you that reality is your projection. Not fixed, not random, but malleable by coherence. The old self disappears because it cannot be reflected without your permission. And as you accept this truth, the light body within you begins to shimmer awake. Light is the most paradoxical of forces, existing as both particle and wave, form and potential. Quantum physics has long revealed its dual nature, and so does your being. When you align, you activate a luminous template within, the light body. This radiant field carries the frequency of your highest self. The density of the old identity simply dissolves. Picture standing at sunrise, shadows stretching long and then vanishing as the light rises. The same happens when your inner light body awakens. The shadows of fear, doubt, and limitation can no longer cling. They are erased by the brilliance of coherence. The old self disappears like night before dawn. Science tells us photons hold no rest mass, yet they carry infinite energy. Spiritually, the same is true for you. Your essence transcends weight, yet radiates power. When aligned, you embody this light-based existence. The heavy identity that once defined you cannot survive. It collapses under the immensity of radiance. A simple practice is visualization. Breathe deeply and imagine your body glowing from within. Let the light expand with each inhale until it fills the space around you. As it grows, feel the density of the old self flaking away. The subconscious accepts this imagery as truth, amplifying the luminous field. Think of how plants orient themselves toward the sun, thriving in its energy. Your light body does the same. It turns naturally toward coherence. As you sustain alignment, every cell entrains to this frequency. Biology confirms light guides cellular communication. Spirit affirms it guides awakening. Both dismantle the false self. The light body is not an escape from the physical. It is a deeper embodiment of it. Your presence becomes magnetic, radiant, undeniable. People sense the shift before words are spoken. It is resonance in its purest form, reorganizing reality around your glow. The old identity, dull and dense, cannot coexist here. Notice how synchronicities multiply when your light body activates. Encounters align, doors open, clarity flows with ease. These are not accidents, but reflections of your luminous field. The quantum responds to coherence expressed as light. The fragmented self, unable to generate such frequency, dissolves in irrelevance. Every culture has spoken of radiant beings, the haloed, the luminous, the divine spark. Science now catches up, proving biophotons radiate from every cell. When you align, those emissions intensify, becoming coherence in motion. Spirit calls this ascension. Physics calls it resonance. Either way, the shadow self has no ground. To awaken as the light body is to embody possibility itself. Your existence becomes proof that form and potential can coexist. The old self collapses into memory, while light becomes your language. And as the radiance deepens, it draws you into the timeless expanse of the infinite now. Beyond the boundaries of time lies a field untouched by beginning or end. Quantum theory hints at it. All probabilities coexisting, all moments simultaneous. This is the infinite now, the eternal backdrop against which reality plays. When you align, you step into this timeless expanse. The old self, bound by past and future, dissolves instantly. Imagine a river where every droplet exists at once, not in sequence, but in totality. You are not moving through time. The stream is moving through you. In this awareness, urgency vanishes, regret evaporates. The only reality is presence, infinite and whole. The fragmented identity cannot survive in this eternity. Science shows particles can exist in superposition until observed, occupying multiple states. Spiritually, you embody the same principle in the now. All versions of you live here, waiting for your alignment to choose. The self tied to memory or worry collapses. Only pure being remains alive. Feel how the body shifts when anchored in presence. Shoulders drop, breath deepens, thoughts soften. This is coherence arising from timelessness. The nervous system organizes itself without resistance. The old self, addicted to stories of before and after, fades under such ease. Alignment breathes only in the present. Practice this. Pause, close your eyes, and name 3 things you can sense right now. The sound of air, the rhythm of breath, the feeling of space around you. Each observation anchors you deeper into the infinite now. The subconscious mind begins reprogramming itself, surrendering its grip on linearity. Notice how miracles unfold when you dwell in presence. Opportunities seem to arrive out of nowhere, yet they emerge from coherence with the now. Synchronicities reveal themselves because you're finally tuned to them. The old self, preoccupied with yesterday or tomorrow, missed these signals. Alignment makes them visible. In the infinite now, becoming ceases to matter. You are not chasing your higher self. You are it. The separation between seeker and sought vanishes. Quantum potential folds into embodiment. The identity that once clung to progress dies quietly, replaced by timeless awareness. Every great mystic spoke of this moment, the eternal present, where creation flows endlessly. Physics whispers of it through entanglement and superposition. Spirit shouts of it through awakening. To live here is to embody both science and soul. The old self, built on illusion, has no entry pass. And so, in the infinite now, you find liberation. not as a goal, but as the natural state of consciousness aligned with itself. Nothing is missing, nothing is broken, nothing is waiting. You are presence becoming aware of presence. And as you rest here, the mystery only deepens into what comes next. When you stand at the edge of alignment, you're not just stepping into a new way of living, you're entering a field where science and spirit converge. Quantum physics whispers that observation reshapes reality, while spirituality reminds you that your essence is limitless. Together, they reveal the same truth. The old self is only a shadow of perception, and the aligned self is the light awakening within you. This journey is not about striving to become something else. It is about remembering the coherence already coded into your being. Each breath, each thought, each feeling is a signal you send into the field, and the universe responds in kind. The moment you choose alignment, the old dissolves, and the infinite opens before you. You are not bound by time, masks, or limitation. You are presence becoming aware of itself. So carry this awareness into your daily life, letting it ripple through your choices, your emotions, and your actions. Stand boldly as the observer of your destiny and allow coherence to shape a reality beyond imagination. If these words resonate, I invite you to like this video, subscribe for more quantum teachings, and share this space with others who are ready to awaken. And before you go, leave a single word in the comments to anchor your transformation today. Alignment.